I'd never been in that room alone with her before. The house still smelled like my father's aftershave, though he'd been gone 2 weeks. Everything felt rearranged but left the same, like a photo frame slightly tilted. She'd asked me to bring up a box from the basement, and when I set it down at the foot of her bed she was standing in front of the mirror, half turned, the zipper of a dark green dress caught just below her shoulder blades. "Could you?" Her voice was quiet, not embarrassed but careful. She held her hair up with one hand, exposing the back of her neck. I hesitated at the doorframe longer than I should have. She looked at me in the mirror, just a glance, then away, and I crossed the carpet. Her skin was warmer than I expected when my knuckles brushed her back. I tugged the zipper a little, then stopped, my fingers unsure. "It stuck," I muttered, though it wasn't really. "I know," she said, almost smiling. "Just be gentle." The fabric smelled faintly of cedar and perfume. My father used to complain it was too heavy, but now it was the scent that made the room feel alive. I slid the zipper upward. It rasped softly, a sound louder than it should have been in the stillness. Her breath caught, maybe from holding her arms up too long, maybe something else. "You're taller than he is," she said suddenly, still looking at herself in the mirror. "I keep forgetting." I didn't answer. My hands lingered a moment before I let go, unsure where to put them. She lowered her hair and smoothed it down, her eyes flicking toward me again, this time staying a little longer. "Thank you," she said. Simple words, but they landed strangely, like a door opening just a crack. I shifted my weight, noticing a faint tremor in my own hands. "No problem." My voice came out rougher than I meant. Outside the window the rain started again, thin, steady, like static. The house always sounded bigger when it rained, as if it were breathing. She sat on the edge of the bed to fasten her shoes, but one heel slipped from her fingers. It rolled under the dresser. I crouched to retrieve it. When I handed it back, our fingers brushed, a small, meaningless thing, except neither of us moved away at once. She was the one who broke the contact, pressing the shoe into place, then standing a little too quickly. "I'm sorry," she said, smoothing the dress again. "This is all different." "I know," I said. My throat felt tight. For a moment we just stood there, her at the mirror, me at the door. The green of her dress caught the dim light, and I realized how different she looked from the woman I'd known in the kitchen, in family photos, in polite conversations. She seemed younger and older at once, like the years around her had shifted. She cleared her throat. "Would you mind?" She stopped, as if she'd thought better of it. "What?" I asked. "Never mind," she said softly. But she didn't leave. I took half a step toward her before I knew why. The rain thickened, drumming on the roof. She turned slightly, not away from me but not fully facing me either. Something in the air felt fragile, a balance I shouldn't disturb but couldn't ignore. Her phone buzzed on the dresser, the screen lighting up with a name I couldn't see. She stared at it for a heartbeat, then at me. The sound of the rain filled the silence between us. "Should I began, but the words died. She reached for the phone, then stopped. Her eyes met mine in the mirror, wide, unreadable. And then the doorbell rang downstairs. The doorbell rang again, sharper this time. She exhaled, a sound more like a sigh than a breath, and slipped past me toward the stairs. "Stay here," she murmured, already halfway down. I lingered at the landing, listening to her voice at the door, polite but tight. A delivery, maybe? Then the door closed and the silence returned, except for the rain. I sat on the top stair, trying not to picture how she looked just now, framed by the mirror. My father had moved out suddenly, after months of low arguments that they thought I couldn't hear. His texts since then were sporadic, short lines about sorting things out. She came back up slowly, arms crossed as though cold. Her hair was damp from the draft at the door. "Package," she said. She leaned against the hallway wall, eyes shut for a second longer than necessary. You okay? I asked. Fine. But her voice had that crack in it again, the one she tried to hide when she'd been crying in the kitchen at night. She opened her eyes and met mine. You don't have to stay here, you know. You're 24. You should be out. She gestured vaguely. I wanted to, I said. Someone should be here. Her mouth tightened, not angry, more like guilty. That's not your job. I looked at the carpet. Doesn't feel like a job. Either of us spoke. The rain softened against the windows. When she finally walked back into her room, I followed a moment later, not sure if I was supposed to. She had slipped off one shoe and was rubbing her ankle where the strap had dug in. The green dress pulled around her knees as she Saturday. You used to run track, she said without looking up. You still do? Not since college, I said. Got busy. She nodded faintly, as if she knew what busy really meant. My father had always said I was drifting, the words still stuck. I sat down across from her on the carpet. You look tired, I said, then regretted it. She gave a half smile. That's one way to say old. That's not what I meant. My voice caught. Her eyes flicked to mine, then away. I was 28 when I met your father, she said. You were a kid. She stopped rubbing her ankle. Now you're not. I didn't know what to say. All I could think about was her sitting in the dim light, the dress, the scent of cedar. She reached for the heel again, but her fingers trembled, and she dropped it. I picked it up and instead of handing it back, I held it between us. She finally looked at me, properly, no mirror this time. Something shifted, not a word, not a gesture, but a stillness that felt like leaning closer without moving. Her knee brushed mine, just barely, and neither of us pulled back. Her knee was still touching mine when the sound of a key rattled faintly in the front door below. She flinched. So did I. Someone's here, she whispered, pushing herself up too fast. The heel dropped again and rolled under the bed. Who has a key? I asked, my voice low. My sister, she said quickly. She checks on me sometimes. She smoothed her dress, already slipping back into the practiced, neutral version of herself. We heard footsteps downstairs, the creak of the kitchen cabinet. She moved to the mirror, tucking hair behind her ears, her back to me. You should go down, she murmured. Pretend you were, I don't know. She didn't finish. I stayed where I was. I can't just, please, she said, sharper now, but under it a tremor. I stepped toward the door, but stopped halfway. The idea of walking past her sister, of lying, made my stomach twist. I'll say I was dropping off the box, I said. That's all you were doing, she answered softly, eyes on her reflection. Her hands were shaking as she straightened the dress. Downstairs a cupboard slammed. A voice called, You home? She cleared her throat. Yes. Upstairs. Her tone sounded cheerful, brittle. I turned to leave, but she caught my wrist, just for a second, fingers warm, urgent. Her eyes flicked up at me, panic and something else tangled together. You're not ashamed? She whispered. I opened my mouth, closed it. I don't know, I said. Her sister's footsteps started up the stairs. She let go of my wrist and stepped back, every trace of closeness erased from her face. I felt the air cool between us, but her perfume still clung to my sleeve. The sister appeared at the top landing, mid-30s, a raincoat dripping. She looked at me, then at her. Oh. I didn't know you had company. I asked him to bring something up from the basement, she said lightly. The zipper on this dress got stuck. The sister's eyebrows lifted just enough to register. Right. She dropped the package on the dresser and said something about making tea, then disappeared back down. The house went quiet again except for the kettle clanking. We stayed frozen where we were. She suspects, I said under my breath. She's protective, she replied, just as low. It doesn't matter. But her hands were gripping the edge of the dresser so hard her knuckles whitened. I moved closer without thinking. It does matter. She turned then, no smile, no mirror between us, and whispered, You should hate me for even. She stopped, biting her lip. I don't, I said. For a heartbeat we were inches apart, both of us trembling, the sound of boiling water drifting up the stairs. Her fingers brushed mine again, not accidental this time, before she pulled back, retreating toward the window. The kettle's whistle cut off downstairs. Footsteps faded toward the back porch. She stayed at the window, her back to me, fingers worrying the curtain edge like a rosary bead. I can't do this, she murmured. I swallowed. Do what? Pretend. She turned halfway toward me. That this is harmless. That you're just being kind. Her voice cracked on the last word. I stepped closer without meaning to. You think that's what this is? I know what it looks like, she said. You're young. She stopped herself, eyes shutting. You'll regret this. You'll hate me. I almost laughed, but it came out shaky. I've been here every day since he left. Not because you asked? Because I wanted to. She spun then, eyes bright. Why? Why would you want to stay in this house with me? With everything falling apart? Because... My throat closed. Because you're the only thing that feels real right now. Her breath hitched. She stepped toward me, then away again. Don't say that. I mean it. Silence. Only the rain and the faint hum of the fridge below. She pressed a hand to her forehead. Your father called me last night, she said finally. He wants to revisit things. He doesn't know you're still here. Something hot and ugly rose in my chest. So you're waiting for him? No, she said quickly. I'm not. I'm just... She shook her head. You don't understand what this would cost me. I do, I said. I'm the one who's been standing outside your door every night trying to leave. That stopped her. She looked at me then, really looked, like she was seeing a stranger. You shouldn't have, she whispered. I couldn't help it. We were only a foot apart now. She reached for the dresser, but her hand landed on my sleeve instead. Her fingers stayed there, trembling. You think this is about age, she said. But it's about everything else. He raised you. She broke off, covering her mouth with her free hand. I caught her wrist gently, lowering it. Say it, I said. Her eyes filled. I'm terrified of wanting you. The words hung in the room, heavier than the rain, heavier than my heartbeat. Neither of us moved. I felt her pulse against my thumb, fast like mine. She stepped closer, almost without moving at all, her forehead nearly touching my chin. Stop me, she whispered. I didn't. Her lips parted as if to speak again, or something else, when a car door slammed outside. A voice called her name from the driveway. We froze. The voice outside called her name again, deeper this time, impatient. She stumbled back from me, fingers still curled as if holding something invisible. That's him, she whispered. Your sister's still here, I said, confused. No. That's your father. Her face strained of color. I moved to the window. A figure stood by the car in the driveway, phone to his ear. Even from here the stance was unmistakable. My father. He shouldn't have been back, not yet, not after the texts about sorting things out. My phone vibrated. A message from him, coming in. We need to talk. I turned to her. You didn't tell me he was coming. I didn't know, she said. He said next week. I didn't. She stopped, pressing a hand to her mouth. Downstairs the front door opened. Rain gusted in. His footsteps, heavier than I remembered, moved through the hall. She grabbed my arm. Go to your room, she hissed. No, I said. My voice was low but shaking. No more hiding. Her eyes widened, panic, but also something like relief. Please, she said. He'll see what? I asked. That I care about you? That you're still here, she whispered. He thinks you left last week. I stared at her. Why would you tell him that? I was trying to protect you, she said. He's angry. He blames you for the separation. Footsteps on the stairs now. The sound of his hands sliding along the railing. She backed toward the mirror. He can't see us together like this. What are we, exactly? I said before I could stop myself. Her lips parted. Don't. I need to know. She shook her head hard, but the answer slipped out anyway. I'm not going back to him. I've already told the lawyer. The words hit me like a shove. You're divorcing him? She nodded once, barely. He doesn't know yet. We both froze as the doorknob rattled. I'll talk to him, I said. I'll know, she cut in. If he sees you, he'll know. He's always known. The door creaked open a few inches, then stopped. My father's voice through the crack. You in there? She met my eyes, breathless. You have to choose, she whispered. Hide or stay. I stepped toward her, not the door. Her hand came up, fingertips grazing my jaw, a gesture so small, but in it everything she couldn't say. Downstairs, my father's phone rang again. He cursed softly and turned away, his footsteps receding toward the kitchen. The door stayed ajar. We were alone, for now. Her hand was still on my face. Her palm stayed on my face a heartbeat too long. It wasn't a caress, it was an anchor. Downstairs a drawer slammed. My father's voice, low, sharp, floated up the stairwell. She dropped her hand. This is it, she whispered. If we don't stop now, I'm tired of stopping, I said. My voice cracked. She closed her eyes. You don't know how many lines I've already crossed. I know enough, I said. And I'm still here. A floorboard groaned below. My father's footsteps again, closer. She moved toward the door, but I caught her arm gently. No hiding, I said. Not anymore. She stared at me, eyes wet but steady. Then tell me what you want. I want you, I blurted, louder than I meant. The sound hung between us like a bell. She flinched. You're saying that now. In 10 years, I'd been saying it for months. I cut in. Just not out loud. Her lips trembled. He'll destroy you if he finds out. Then let him, I said. At least it's honest. We both heard my father call her name again, just at the bottom of the stairs. She squared her shoulders, a look I'd only ever seen when she was about to do something she couldn't undo. I filed the papers, she said quietly. Yesterday. He doesn't know yet. A weight lifted and pressed down at the same time. So you're free, I said. No one's free in this house, she murmured. Her fingers found mine, interlacing once, then pulling back as if burned. We can't do this here, she said. Not like this. I nodded but didn't step away. Then tell him, I said. Tell him it's over. Her jaw tightened. If I tell him now, it explodes. If I wait, maybe it burns out quietly. Which do you want? I want to stop living like a secret, I said. She looked at me for a long time, searching. Outside, a flash of headlights cut across the rain. Downstairs, a cupboard slammed. The sound of a bottle being opened. Her hand drifted up, almost touching my cheek again but stopping just short. If I kiss you now, she whispered, there's no taking it back. I know, I whispered back. So what do we do? She didn't answer. She took a small step forward instead. The smell of rain and cedar and her perfume blurred together. Our faces were inches apart. I could feel her breath on my mouth. Downstairs my father's phone rang again, shrill, breaking the spell. She closed her eyes, still inches from me, and said, barely audible, "Choose for me." For a second neither of us moved. Her eyes were still closed, my hand half raised between us. Downstairs my father's ringtone chirped again and again until it stopped. She opened her eyes first. "Not like this," she whispered. I nodded, but my body didn't back away. "Then how?" Her fingers slid down my sleeve, a brief, shaky touch. "I'm going to tell him," she said. "Tonight. Before he sees us together. Before he guesses." The front door slammed. The engine outside turned over and faded into the rain. He was gone, at least for now. We both exhaled at once. The house felt suddenly bigger, emptier. She sat on the edge of the bed, head in her hands. I crouched in front of her. "You don't have to do it alone," I said. She gave a small laugh, not happy, but real. "I've been alone longer than you know." I hesitated, then reached for her hand. This time she didn't pull away. Our fingers locked, palms damp from nerves. "What happens to us?" I asked quietly. Her eyes lifted. "We stop sneaking," she said. "If this is real, we take the hard way. We tell the truth. We wait until it isn't a scandal, until it isn't just hiding from him." "Waiting," I echoed, tasting the word. "Waiting," she said again. "But not pretending." We stayed like that for a while, listening to the rain thin to a mist. She talked about the lawyer, the papers, the small apartment she'd found on the edge of town. I told her about the job interview I'd been dodging, the feeling of drifting. For the first time, our sentences weren't half finished. By the time the house fell completely silent, the green dress had wrinkled at her knees and my shirt clung to my back. We weren't touching anymore, but the space between us felt different, no longer a hiding place, more like a fragile agreement. She stood and smoothed the dress. "I'll call you tomorrow," she said. "After I've told him." "Okay," I said. My voice cracked, but I didn't care. "I'll be here." She gave a small, tired smile, the first real smile of the night. "No. Be somewhere for yourself. I'll find you." At the door she paused, looking back once, eyes searching mine. Not a goodbye, not a promise, something in between. Then she went downstairs, her heels soft against the carpet. I stayed in the room, listening to the rain and the hum of the fridge, realizing how much had already changed even though nothing had happened yet. Outside, the first break in the clouds let a thin stripe of sunlight through. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?